morning, viewers, and welcome to a brand new week as we continue our conversation on the Economy and Politics show. Today, we're looking at a very critical industry in the finance value chain, but also in need of more deepening and harnessing. Repositioning Nigeria's insurance industry for global competitiveness has become very imperative for our nation. Huge population, potentials, resources are enormous for us to harness and ensure that everyone can get insured in every ramification. So we're looking at that today, and with me to have this conversation is our regular guest on insurance matters, Mr. Ekerete Ola Gam-Ikon. He's an insurance expert and management consultant. Good morning and nice to have you on the show. Happy New Week.
Yeah, good morning, Ottoabasi. It's a wonderful week of Christmas, and so we need to bear the risk, see all of that ahead of us. Thank you very much.
Definitely. So the build up to Christmas is already beginning, and we're less than 3 days to it, so I can understand Mr. Ekerete is already savoring the season. But let's start with something very interesting. Now this year, the regulator, the National Insurance Commission, brought out the recapitalization steps again and looked at December and facing even into the other part of 2021. But COVID-19 came in and of course has really disrupted a lot of things, a lot of sectors, including insurance, and the National Assembly members, the House of Representatives, are calling for an extension, saying that it has been a very challenging period for the industry, and extending this recapitalization has become something that should be considered. What's your take on this call for extension? Because this extension has been over and over again on the industry.
Yeah, I'm sure if you had to answer this question on my behalf, you would say it's not something that should be discussed in the manner of further extending. However, the call, in my own view, is in order. The National Assembly represents the people, and so they have spoken. However, there are a lot more considerations to take along with the issue of recapitalization for the insurance industry. I only had wished that the National Assembly would also look at the critical issues affecting the insurance industry besides recapitalization, which are non-payment of claims and poor adoption of insurance by Nigerians. The issues of awareness are there. So sometimes when we get intervention, so to say, from the legislature, it's expected to be in the interest of the people. However, you then check further and discover that this kind of extension they've called for now is to please the interest of some people who have gone to petition what the National Insurance Commission is doing. And my expectation would have been that they will seize the opportunity to look at a lot of other things that are affecting the insurance industry. Because as you know also, it came at a time when the National Assembly, the House of Reps in particular, was holding the public hearing. And in all of that, I didn't seem to hear anything that engaged the interest of the people. Claims is a big issue. Yes, we are talking about recapitalization. Whether it comes or not, will these insurance companies pay claims? I can tell you, like I did say to you in the past, that even if they give some of these insurance companies the next 3 years, 5 years, they won't meet the capital base, new capital base. And that's because, they have become entirely weak. They have become very weak, and their level of indebtedness has become too high for any investor to go in their direction. So, which is why the regulator ought to take proactive steps, in my own view, to then agree with the fact that these companies have gotten to the point where they can no longer continue. And so let's withdraw the licenses of these companies and give confidence to the public that the regulator is doing what it's supposed to do. We won't be having this kind of situation, in my own humble opinion.
Very clear.
That we need to look from the legislative side on increasing adoption and also payment of claims, which are very important things that in other claims people take seriously, as it has to do with the insurance industry. Well noted there, Mr. Ekerete. But let's look at 2020. Has been a very interesting year. And one area which you raised, I remember in our discussion, was the need for us to begin to look at micro insurance. And it's like NICOM was listening to you, and they in pursuit of financial inclusion and increasing penetration, insurance penetration in Nigeria, permitted micro-insurance window operations for conventional insurance companies. So in order for a window operation to be granted to a conventional insurance company, the following requirements shall be met according to NICOM, which include the insurer shall seek and obtain approval of the commission to transact micro-insurance business, board resolution approving the establishment of a micro-insurance department, and also applicants shall apply for window micro-insurance national operating license. And also the department shall be headed by an experienced insurance officer, not below the rank of an AGM, that's Assistant General Manager, who must possess a minimum of 7 years post-associate of Chartered Institute of Insurance of Nigeria qualification. Mr. Ekerete, based on this, is this the right step, and what will help to catalyze this desired penetration? Let's take a look at this micro-insurance window that NICOM is giving conventional insurance companies.
Okay, thanks so much. Let me quickly say that 2020 has probably been the toughest year and unbelievably the best year for insurance in Nigeria. I say this because the insurance incumbents have seen their capacities stretched by these calls for recapitalization, interventions in COVID-19, the lockdown, reduction in budgets, NSAS protest, and all of that. And in response, the regulator has been some kind of a mixed bag. I mean, regulation has been some kind of mixed bag of inspiring actions and indifference. Inspiring actions in the sense that we have seen, like you have said, a move towards ensuring that we see the kind of change that we had been speaking about. It is in this same year that the regulator has given fresh licenses to insurance companies, and then we have seen along them 2 Takaful insurance companies and the 1 reinsurance company. So these are interesting times for insurance. To the specific issue of micro insurance, I would rather wait to see how insurance companies engage, to then see whether or not we have a clear understanding of what micro insurance is. When I discuss with some industry players, what I hear is that, oh, what's NICOM doing? We have been doing this thing since. And I'm a bit taken aback. Doing what since? Because people should not confuse personal line insurances, which you and I can take, with retail insurance and with micro insurance. These are entirely different things. So when we begin to talk about micro insurance, what I would just like to say at this point, while we watch how the insurance companies will behave, is that this is the best opportunity for the aggregators to partner with insurance companies, because they are the ones who've got the numbers. The insurance companies don't have the numbers. It doesn't make sense for any insurance company now to try and buy cars, build department of micro insurance, and be looking for people going out to market women to get insurance. No, it's not going to happen. This is the time to work on partnerships. People that are giving credits, and are doing it successfully. Right now, as we see across the country, you can press your phone and get credit. That is where insurance should come in. And this is where we begin to talk about micro insurance for those kind of people. So people that cannot afford to pay 1 year premium, this is the time to look at them very well and see how they can pay on a monthly basis. So all sorts of things are going to happen. I do expect really that if we do it very well, then micro insurance might just become we've said it before, it might just become the platform on which the business of insurance changes in Nigeria. You will recall that in Kenya, M-Pesa was not meant for the conventional banking. It was for microfinance banking. But when the CBN in Kenya saw M-Pesa, they decided to apply it, and everything has changed about mobile money in Kenya today, and that has made Kenya the leading player in mobile money in the world. So we need to begin to look at this thing further from trying to protect insurance. Let's try to promote it and see how we can work with aggregators and ensure that this thing happens, and a lot more people will have fantastic experience about insurance. Because with micro insurance, don't forget, we cannot play with the claims of micro entrepreneurs like we are doing with claims of organizations right now. Yes. So those are issues to do, and the regulation is clear. Regulation is clear in terms of how to handle those kind of issues. However, also, we need to speak about the issues of how do we ensure that as micro insurance providers, we are able, to just do the kind of reinsurance that is required and just ensure that we're in a position to respond when these people want their claims paid.
Very important. And I think the key word there is
working with aggregators and ensuring that this whole microinsurance segment is effectively managed. You mentioned the fact that you can't afford to delay claims to micro enterprises like we see in the other segments. That is very important for the conventional insurance companies that will definitely have to operate in that space. Well, let's look at it. Yeah, okay.
Let me just add, sorry to interrupt you. Let me just add that, this does not, from my understanding, it doesn't stop people who are interested in having micro insurance licenses to still go for micro insurance licenses. I mean, the regulator has not said that that opportunity is closed. So people who want to do only micro insurance still have an opportunity of doing it. Again, we have to see how that plays out.
Yes, yes. And if you can speak to this year technology, I mean, in your latest article that was published on ProShare, you talk about digitizing the new experience. The article is olden days of insurance versus the new digitizables. So InsurTech is something that really, really can do a lot in deepening the penetration and increasing the adoption. And yes, people do say that when we are discussing fintech and all that, we don't really bring InsurTech into the fold, but definitely it has to now come more in the fold. So how has technology helped to shape the prospect of adopting and deepening penetration for insurance in Nigeria this year?
Oh, well, this year, Ottoabasi, this year has been, for InsurTech, this year has been more of the conversations that we are having around it to try and understand it and all of that. And I'm happy that someone who also got into the business as an agent some years back, a gentleman got into the space of InsurTech and was able to hold the first InsurTech conference in Nigeria. Also enable us to have an understanding of what InsurTech is. And then we had a lot of people from all over the world speaking about different things, that InsurTech can do. And I do recall that in one of those sessions that we had, someone actually said that, look, it's time for the regulator, to watch how these things develop and step in and not try to be the one driving it, because the operations are different. And then when you begin to talk to people who are in the fintech business, they will tell you that, what we have been discussing has been more of trying to leverage technology, not knowing that we have to build it for technology to only enable what we have built. So there is a time for learning, which we have to do. And then there's a time to also partner, because we don't have the what's it called, and the privilege of building it ourselves. If you want to build it yourself as an insurance entity, you're not likely to go too far, and customers are not going to wait, So it's time for that adoption to happen. But here is what it is. That adoption, in my own view, will be so very slow because we don't have data right now. If we cannot leverage data in the insurance business, it is going to be terribly bad, because the data is there, by the way, because insurance companies get all the data and then send it to the regulator, one way or the other. So from the regulatory side, data has to become a lot more of the business of insurance, than what it is. And that's the way we will say InsurTech is happening. Because when you've got the data, you apply the technology that you have, you begin to see the difference. You begin to see the difference immediately. And so that's why discussions have to be be progressively, made between the regulator NICOM and NCC, National Communications Commission, the CBN, the Digital Economy Ministry.
Yeah.
All of those things have to happen to make insurance gain from what's going on. So the process are very high, but I do think that we have seen the regulators speak about it, but we have to see some engagement that will make us see that the enablement is being created.
Yeah, I like what you said about the fact that
learning partnership is key, and you even hit the major thing, data. So data will be very key for the growth of InsurTech and the entire industry, and that collaboration between NICOM, NCC, and the Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy and the Central Bank of Nigeria. We hope to see those kind of things happen more in 2021 so that we can really achieve this increased adoption, like you've earlier stated. Well, a developing story that we've got over the weekend is that the NIA, the Nigerian Insurance Association, are calling for a risk-based capital framework in the insurance sector. What are your thoughts on this, Mr. Ekerete?
Again, it's a good call to make. However, I honestly do not think, in my opinion, that it's something for the law to prescribe. All right. Now, don't forget, we have been on this journey before. Way back in 2012, the Nigerian insurance industry was set for risk-based, capital. And then the whole idea of digitization, creating the portal at NICOM and all of that, were in discussion. And then I do think that all of the operators also know that at some point, the National Insurance Commission came through and said, okay, to enable risk-based capital happen, let us, create something new, which was the tier-based, what's it called? Capital, solvency capital, yes, that we're talking about. So, but it was also, we the operators, let's put it that way, who rejected that approach. But some companies I know, I can tell you, have been, practicing it for quite some time based on that 2012 discussion, which the regulator was ready to do at that time. So it's nice to have it, and it's the right thing to have. But I only think it's not something for regulation, for the laws rather, to prescribe. It's something that the regulator can do within its powers, for the law to do. And let me say that I think the operators have come up with this because the regulator is also working with the legislators put in the law that capital base will be 8 billion for life business, 10 billion for general business, 18 billion for composite. Those things, in my own view, don't have to be spelled out in the law the way they've been done. Because, what we are saying is that capital for insurance business is not something that you prescribe in that manner. It should go along with, when you say it's risk-based, it should go along with your capacity in different areas of the business. So it's not something that you prescribe, through the law. That's my point. It's good to have, but hey, it shouldn't be the law that will say it. Because what I think is happening now is that between the regulator and the operators, they are trying to find a way of moving away from this whole recapitalization issue, because what we have presently is not what is practiced internationally. We've said this before. Our capital base is the highest in Africa, and we're not getting the penetration level that we should get. So the earlier we move away from this kind of discussion about making recapitalization a law, a matter that is prescribed by the law, then the better it will be for the industry. We spend too much time on this whole recapitalization issue that we have not paid attention to a lot of things that we should pay attention to and get the kind of result that we should get. In this year, 2020, there's been so much discussion. So, many people have been talking about insurance in ways that it has never been discussed in Nigeria. But when you look at it, we haven't been able to enjoy the advantage we should enjoy because we have dwelled too much on the issue of recapitalization, in my own view, and allowed other things that should have been given attention to just pass off. All right. So the earlier we get out of this and deal with the issues, the better.
Very, very important.
There's something you just said now, that our capital base is the highest in Africa, but penetration is low.
Yeah.
That's a very big mismatch or abnormality that has to be seriously addressed in terms of the industry.
Yes, I mean, if you check it, you will find out that. I mean, even when we say the contribution of the insurance industry to GDP is 0.3% and all of that, when was the last time anybody checked? We don't have the data. That you can easily compare the gross written premium to the gross domestic product of Nigeria is not enough. You know, how many people do we have in that space that are doing insurance? Are you aware that a lot of people have dropped their policies this year? You know, so we have a lot of work to do in terms of getting the data, mining the data, and ensuring that statistical reports ought to come out, you know, on a regular basis. Yes. So a lot of things that we are doing, it's on a lot of assumption that shouldn't be with insurance business. Insurance is the business of numbers. And that's how it got to be. But interestingly, I'm also happy that the regulator has put a lot of emphasis on the use of actuaries and actuarial reports and all of that. But guess what? It goes back to data. What data are they working with? You can't guess, guesstimate, like they say, and then put a cap on it and begin to work on it without any foundation. Once the foundation is wrong, we're going to be living like you find us doing in group life business. We've set a rate from the commission, from the regulator, of 6% per mil. It's not working. And that's why you have issues where, insurance operators go out and they are discussing with people who are buying insurance. And when they ask questions of justifying the rate, oh, it's the regulator that set it. That's not how to do business. Yeah. That's not how to do business. You know, so we've got to come to that point where, you know, people need to be a lot more aware of the basis on which they are doing insurance, pay the right premium for insurance, you know, and get the best benefits that they can get at any point in time. So what you have now is everyone going out there and seeking to get the business and just getting the business at whatever rate. And that's why we come back to the issue of non-payment of claims.
Speaking about policy and agenda.
It's very important that insurance is integrated into economic agenda. Did you see that really happen this year, particularly with the Economic Sustainability Plan rolled out in response to the COVID pandemic? And even now we're also looking at the Nigeria 2050 Vision 2050 agenda.
Ottoabasi, I weep when I see where insurance is in the context of the entire national economic agenda. You know, why I weep is because you see that the finance ministry is the supervising ministry of the National Insurance Commission. So one would expect that the National Insurance Commission is involved in a lot of things that is happening in the finance ministry. So if you look at the reason for which insurance exists, which is, you know, to be able to sustain the economy, you know, stabilize the economy and sustain growth. And insurance is not involved in all of the different committees that have been set up by finance, you know, to look at Nigeria's strategic plan. That's why I say I weep. I can't understand it. I just can't understand it. Because you talk about the economic sustainability committee that was headed by the vice president. And you recall we had that discussion and I said, it's unbelievable that there was no insurance presence in that committee. So what are we doing? Do we know that the businesses that have existed so far, in spite of the challenges, look at the protests, look at the things that were burnt and all of that, it's insurance that is bearing the brunt. If not for insurance, this business will not continue to employ people. They will not continue to pay taxes. They will not continue to be there, you know, for us. So at what point are we going to recognize insurance as a major tool for economic growth and development? At what point? You know, Lagos State is a good example, you know, when they came out and said, we've paid our premiums for insurance, you know, and the claims are being dealt with in the manner that insurance premium had been paid. So we need to really get this both at the federal level and at the state levels, so that we don't continue to struggle when things happen. What I expect, let me tell you, is that the kind of engagement that should happen between the Finance Ministry and the National Insurance Commission is to also begin to enlighten the state governments on the need to have their House of Assemblies, pass a law establishing insurance commissions in their own respective states. Besides the fact that it will create employment, it will bring home the fact that this risk that we deal with from time to time, could be better handled. And the insurance awareness that we're trying to create, that is one way I believe it will be created. If you don't domesticate the insurance law, how will it happen? Going to a governor to tell him about doing insurance sounds like you're telling him about another opportunity to generate money for his state. Yeah. And that's not enough. That's not enough. I mean, this whole thing of the protest, the violence, and the wanton destruction of properties should tell us that we need to take insurance to these states. And the only way to do that, in my own view, establish the law first of all, just like we have done at the federal level. Yeah. I mean, we've seen it. FIRS had to do the same thing. NHIS has done the same thing. So what are we waiting for? So these are steps that we can take, and we can begin to see insurance happen. Telling an insurance company to go and open an office in Onitsha and all of those things won't work. It won't work. Because I can sit down in Lagos and close the business. So why am I going to Onitsha to open office? All right. So these are steps that I think we need to take to really start integrating insurance into the our national economic agenda.
So states should consider having insurance commissions at the subnational level.
Oh yes.
Okay.
I mean, it's there.
Okay.
PENCOM also trying to do it in different states.
Very important.
So, and then it's not enough to have offices there. It's to really get the state to adopt it, and then we begin to see it happen. Yes.
Right. So finally, in 1 minute, what are the key things
that will shape the insurance industry in Nigeria for 2021? What do you see as the key trends?
Okay, so in 2021, we've got to come through with how we deal with claims issues. Now, it's beginning to, I think it has become acceptable now that if you don't tell customers about claims, then you have not said anything. Look, let me tell you, the regulator is on the spot now as we speak. It's not enough to say, I will not recapitalize any company that is owing claims. Where is the last claims report? Who has paid claims? Who has not paid claims? Let's work with some information and data that will make sense to people. All right. So what is going to define next year for a lot of companies, it would be who is paying claims, who is not paying claims. All right. Now, secondly, we're going to have to, come to the point of saying you cannot take from where you have not contributed. So insurance companies have to do a lot more work to be seen as contributing to the growth of the economy, rather than coming to take. You want people to buy insurance, you want people to pay premium. I mean, there are challenges all over the place. We need to see a lot more of insurance companies. Yes, I know some of them are doing it, but we need to see a lot more of insurance companies putting their, brands on issues of social concern and economic emancipation for people. People will not buy into what you are doing if they don't consider that you care for them. Yes. So a lot of that has to happen. We don't have too many CRS issues in insurance industry. You see insurance companies that declare 10 billion as their revenue turnover, and then when you go to the page where they're talking about donations and all of that, you just see some pittance as compared to what they've done. So we probably need to have the industry sit down and say 1% of our profit will go into this, and it becomes a deliberate work that is being done. Then lastly, we're having a lot of international brands coming into Nigerian markets. With all what has happened, we expect them, those international brands, to be able to make a difference. It doesn't make sense to me if an international brand is around in Nigeria and is behaving like a Nigerian, the last company we saw in Nigeria. It doesn't. What's the difference? So all of this product innovation, channel changes on the channel distribution that we're talking about, we need to see them even move from there. But I'm happy that some Nigerian companies and some Nigerian CEOs are proving themselves to even be better than these international brands. And so a lot of those competitions that will come, we will see. And with the new companies that have been licensed, we are expecting them to behave differently, which is what I meant in my last article. You don't come and behave like the last company and expect to get a different result. I mean, they were given license some time ago. Some of us are already expecting some difference in the way they operate in the market. What are they waiting for? We haven't heard from them since they were given license. And importantly too, from the regulatory point, I do think that we now have to come up clearly and say, if the contribution to the GDP has been 0.3%, if that is correct, then where is the pin right now? Where should the pin be going? So from the regulatory point, we should be able to set some targets for ourselves and say, yes, this is what we will do. I've heard that, but how that will be achieved is also what we need to hear. A lot of work is being done on market development, which is interesting, However, we shouldn't miss the issues of discipline in the market, which is really, really, eroding all of what we are trying to do.
Yeah. Thank you very, very much, Mr.
Ekerete Ola Gam-Ikon, insurance expert and management consultant, for really sharing how we can reposition Nigeria's insurance industry for global competitiveness. Definitely, it's very key. It must be integral to our economic planning and policy agenda. That 2021 shows prospects that must leverage data real time and address issues of claims, and that the insurance companies, the industry, should look at CSR, corporate social responsibility. May say 1% of their profit can go to education, to issues of health, just some issues that can address our socioeconomic challenges. And then the international brands should make a difference, not just come on board. And finally, the regulators should chart a pathway and also set achievable targets, continuing with their market development agenda. Thank you very much once again, and we hope to have this conversation in subsequent editions when you feature. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much.
And a Merry Christmas
Christmas
in advance.
Oh, yes.
Yes, sir. Yeah. That will be all for this edition of the Economy and Politics Show. You can watch our videos, read our stories and articles around insurance by going to our website, www.proshareng.com. And when you go to the right hand of the bar, you can click and definitely see the latest article on insurance from our guests, Mr. Ekerete Ola Gam-Ikon. You can follow him on Twitter at Olagamola. Yes, on Twitter, for further insights around insurance and what's happening in that space. Send your comments and views on what can be done to make insurance globally competitive from Nigeria's end. Send your views to news@proshareng.com or tag us at WebTVNG. We'll be glad to receive them and respond to you appropriately. It's been an interesting conversation. Looking forward to more of that and a brand new week. So let's continue this conversation tomorrow. To come your way again, thank you for watching. Have a nice day and stay safe.